What's up, everyone? Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite game of all time, Infected RPG DayZ. Yom Network is a long-standing Minecraft server with 4 different game modes. Today we'll be discussing the most popular one by far, Infected RPG, or more commonly known as DayZ. Now, I've spent my fair share of time on difficult servers. I was a big 2B, 2T player back in the day, and more recently a Hypixel Skyblock guy. But I really mean it when I say I have never seen a server that is more difficult to get good at than DayZ. Before we dive into the details, I'd like to add one more thing. DayZ is massively complex, and I mean it in the best way possible. Similarly to Hypixel Skyblock, there are hundreds of custom armor sets, weapons, attachments, vehicles, and other unique items, but it is still technically vanilla Minecraft, in the sense that you don't need any extra mods to play. It's as simple as installing the texture pack when you log in. Now what that means is it is easily accessible to the general player base, and yet it will never be close to as popular as many mainstream servers because of how difficult and how challenging the learning curve is on DayZ. And that's really the idea behind this video. This is less of a structured tutorial and more of a general introduction to what I think is a unique and challenging experience. And I just want to clarify that the reason that I say that it is such a difficult or challenging game is not to dissuade people from checking it out, but rather just to mention that it's rare to come across games like these nowadays where you really have to test your patience and skill. You're definitely not going to be good at it starting out like any other shooter, but that's the whole point. You gotta actually try, and I think that's what makes this fun. I started playing DayZ back in 2012. I remember my first couple experiences being short and kind of frustrating. As a young zombies nerd, I love the idea of having cool guns in an apocalyptic world, but I just couldn't seem to make it past the original couple stages of spawning in, looting a couple chests, finding NPCs or players, and then dying. It was super simple, but a ton of fun. You spawned in, killed whoever, ran around, looted up, and that was it. But it didn't stay super simple for long. Over the years, the server has been consistently updated by the owner and a couple developers. The game became increasingly complex as new mechanics were introduced. The map was growing at an alarming rate, and the content became more and more challenging as time went on. Now that you have a general idea of the server's origins, let's talk about gameplay. After you log in for the first time, you spawn in this tutorial house. Now I highly suggest that you all do the tutorial, but for those of you who are too lazy or just don't want to do it, here's a quick breakdown of what the tutorial teaches you. Typing /play spawns you in at a random point in the world, and the first thing to pay attention to here is your food and your water. So there's a unique thirst mechanic which replaces the general vanilla Minecraft experience bar. As you can see here, it's at 29. The maximum is 60 and 0 is deadly. The point is that without food or water, you can have all the gear in the world, but there's really not much else that you can do. It's definitely one of the basics, and the thirst is really a unique challenge because most players are not used to having to drink water as part of a mechanic. The next basic necessity is a weapon, and that's pretty understandable. Not having a weapon makes you extremely vulnerable to both players and zombies. A mistake that I made often early on was that I would spawn in with all my other valuable necessities like food, armor, meds, but I assumed I would find a gun quickly once I started looting. Never assume things like that, as you can waste a whole lot of time and gear on a stupid mistake. And this is a very unforgiving game. It takes one minor slip up and you can lose hours of progress and have to start from scratch. You use Q to reload with the correct ammo in your inventory, left click to zoom in or scope, and then right click to fire. Different guns will obviously fire in different ways depending on the type of gun. Yom Network uses its own unique armor system. Damage in DayZ works like this. There are 4 types of damage: projectiles, melee, bomb/fire, and radiation. A player hitting you with a machete will deal 14 melee damage. Getting shot in the head by a python will deal 26 projectile damage, and so on. Different mobs and weapons deal different kinds of damage. Your armor works the same way. You can do /armor to see the total defense of each damage type. In addition to this, there are 5 different combo perks: mining, haste, leap, ghillie, and regeneration. Wearing 4 pieces of armor with leap will give you a permanent jump boost. Haste gives speed, ghillie gives invisibility, and regen gives regeneration. Now, I've noticed I've spent a lot of time going over some of the most obvious or most basic mechanics in the game. I'm going to try and speed through the next couple just so that we don't get stuck here all day. This is spawn, also known as safe zone. The majority of your player interactions will happen here. There are 2 ways to get here: dying or evacing. You can evac by finding an evac zone on your compass and standing inside of it. Inside of the safe zone, you can sell items to the junker, browse the player auction house, duel, or most commonly, complain about how hard PvP is for you. Now at this point, you may be wondering where the difficulty is. I was hyping it up for being challenging before, and so far all I've showed you are super basic mechanics and things like this. And that's where I want to get into the ranks. So if you ask any common or experienced player on Yom Network what the objective of the game is, you'll probably get a mixed couple of answers. But the majority of people will tell you to rank up. There are 16 initial ranks. Every rank up requires both a cash amount and specific task requirements. With every rank up, you receive a one-time rank up reward, which varies depending on the rank, access to more bosses, more slots to sell your items with on the marketplace, and so on. Simply put, ranking up makes the game significantly easier with every rank, but they aren't all easy to attain. Some of the higher ranks, like Legendary and Savior, have been achieved only by a lucky few. There is also a prestige system, but I'm gonna avoid that for now. And that's about it. As you guys can see, we still have a lot of stuff to cover, but I hope you guys enjoyed this as sort of a peek into the world of Yom Network. I understand that I'm probably going to need to make a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 because the concepts that I explained here, although we did cover some interesting stuff, this is all pretty much the absolute basics. These are things that you could assume as somebody who's played vanilla, and there's plenty of topics that we have to talk about that are unique to Yom. But that's about it. If you guys see me online, feel free to ask for questions, and I hope you guys enjoy and stick around for the next one.